What's going on, everybody? We're back in here with another video. As you guys know, college football is just one day away. As we get close to launch here, we'll cover a couple more teams, I believe, in the Power 5 that need a couple more love. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's talking about the teams that you should rebuild that are lower level. I want to talk about some teams that are in the Power 4 conferences where you're going to start off decently well NIL wise. And, there are teams that are definitely need help going forward. But let's go ahead and getting right into it with our TCU Horned Frogs, a place that was near and dear to me. I spent about 9 months there, but it was the greatest 9 months I ever had. Post-grad, I spent 1 year as a GA at TCU for the men's basketball team, and I was actually here this season where they unfortunately lost to the Georgia Bulldogs in the national championship game. It was a thrilling time to beat Michigan to get the chance to play for the national championship. Obviously, the college football playoffs are a little bit different now, so that may go in your favor as more teams are allowed to enter. But, Coach Sonny Dykes, he got to the national championship game in year one, which is nothing to be sneezed at. But the following season after that, obviously after losing all the talent that he had, they were under 500. And the seasons following that, he has been bowl eligible, as they did go to the Alamo Bowl and won against USC in last season. But unfortunately, you do lose your star quarterback in Josh Hoover, who ended up transferring to play in the Big Ten with Indiana. So you do have to go and get your own quarterback, but that may be fun to some people. You do have quarterback Jaden Craig, who transferred in from Harvard this season to kind of get through year one. But you have the opportunity to recruit some guys out of high school. You've got the Texas pipeline that works in your favor. You've got the East Texas area, which is always has good recruits, and then obviously you are also competing with other Texas schools. But I imagine TCU comes in around a 3-star, so we'll see how that goes with the dynasty points. And you do have sophomore running back Jeremy Payne, who features a 94 speed, a 90 change of direction. Obviously, he's got room to grow over these next 2 years. He essentially won the game versus USC a season ago. But can you do enough to convince him to stay in Fort Worth? I mean, obviously, Josh Hoover took other opportunities, and you have to do what you can to make sure that this running back is the leader of your offense and is somebody that you can kind of build on to go forward. He is draft eligible after this season, but you do have the opportunity to probably keep him, as his overall hasn't reached that 90 threshold quite yet. But after that, you do have wide receiver Jordan Dwyer with a 91 speed, 86 catching, and 92 spectacular catch. So you do have a little bit of things to work with offensively. And I think the defense will come around just enough for you to make sure that you can at least be bowl eligible for one more season while you can retool the offense the way that you want in the quarterback room, the way that you want as well.
The game is over. And now they say the touchdown is good. And TCU can officially celebrate. Inches between his feet and the sideline. What contact balance by Jeremy Payne.
Understand the defensive back whose tackle he just ran through. Christian Pierce is a hammer. And Jeremy Payne literally just ran right.
All right, we'll go over our next team in the Big 12, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. A season ago, they did take over the Big 12, winning the conference tournament, leading into their college football playoff appearance. Here, as we watch them go and lose this game here to the Oregon Ducks. It wasn't a super high-scoring game, but, as you lose a game like this, being the higher seed and kind of the year that you had, your fans are probably a little bit disappointed with your showing here. In this first round matchup, in the quarterfinal matchup that you had here. But you do kind of have the resources behind you. It'll be interesting to see kind of the dynasty point situation that you got going on with the Texas Tech Red Raiders. You are still competing in the Big 12. We'll kind of see where they are up to par. That the Big 12 seems to be the one right behind the two major conferences, the Big 10 and the SEC, when it comes to football. Obviously, they're better than the ACC, but the teams that are in the SEC and in the Big Ten tend to dominate these kind of college football situations. And we'll see if the Texas Tech Red Raiders can bounce back from what they had a season ago. They obviously went to try and upgrade their quarterback play, and that hasn't really gone too well, as Brendan Sorsby has been caught up in a little bit of a situation headed into this season and will no longer be a part of the Texas Tech Red Raiders. So that is a interesting challenge for you to take on as you have to deal with your quarterback room as going forward. Let's talk about our last Big 12 team, the Baylor Bears. Coach Aranda is coming up on his 7th season as the Bears head coach. His tenure with the Baylor Bears has had its ups and downs after going 2-7 during the shortened COVID season. Coach Aranda then did have the Bears at 12-2, finishing first in the Big 12, but last season was his 4th season in 7 years as the head coach with a losing record. You do have DJ Lagway coming in from Florida. Obviously, he had his up and down there, but he is a Houston area kid, and he's looking to make a difference here. SEC quarterback in the Big 12. I have a feeling that he'll turn out to be a really good player. And you've also got junior running back Dawson Pendergrass with the 88 speed, 89 trucking, and 85 carry. You've got senior wide receiver Gavin Freeman coming in with the 90 speed and 83 catching. In previous games, previous college football games, DJ was very apt to transfer. Are you going to be able to keep him here? Are you going to be able to help Coach Aranda keep his job as the head coach of the Baylor Bears heading into his 7th season? Those are challenges you have in front of you. Moving on to the ACC, we've got 2 teams to talk about here. First up, we've got our NC State Wolfpack. The Wolfpack had a pretty up and down season the season ago. They did, however, beat their rival, the UNC Tar Heels. Obviously, that team could also be in the mix for this video, but I did not include them. Obviously, somebody you should take a look at. You obviously got Bill Belichick, who I'm sure is not in the game. Yet again, he was never in any of the Madden, so I'm sure that nothing has changed there. But the Wolfpack can be an exciting squad. You've got C.J. Bailey returning after many thought that he would end up transferring to his hometown Miami team. The Wolfpack started off the season 3-0 and ended the season 3-0. So you do have some things that you could build off of going forward into this season. The Wolfpack do have a good receiver in Victor Snow, who transferred in from Buffalo. He does lead the team in overall. And, they were just ranked top 25 2 seasons ago. Coach Doran, he's been there for a minute. He gets another shot after many thought that last season would be it, but he did beat UNC. So whenever you can do that, you'll go ahead and make sure your job is preserved there. Now, the Pack, they haven't won a conference championship in football since 1979, which was 47 years ago. You kind of got the chance to rewrite some history here. You've got an exciting young quarterback. Likely in his last season, obviously you don't want him to transfer, but you kind of have to make sure that you can do what you can with that. The Wolfpack did lose their star running back, but they do have Jaden Scott, who has played a little bit for them, sophomore running back. He's got upside, but, he's going to have to fill in some big shoes after taking over for Hollywood Smothers, who ended up transferring to the SEC and will be playing for the Texas Longhorns. This could be exciting for you. You have a chance to kind of come in and do what you want to do with your offense this first season, but you'll have to recruit some receivers. You'll have to go probably get a new quarterback. But this could be an opportunity to take over in the ACC, which for the most part I feel like isn't really all that competitive at the moment football-wise. I think that there's a chance for the Wolfpack to kind of be at the top. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the conference. Obviously, we just saw Miami head to the college football playoffs and end up playing for the national championship. But outside of Miami, I don't see anybody really coming up second, and I think that you have a good opportunity here with the Wolfpack to kind of rewrite some history and get your first conference championship in 47 years. Our next team in the ACC is our Florida State Seminoles. A season ago, they started off the season really hot, defeating number 8 Alabama at home. After that, they had kind of an up and down year. Coach Mike Norvell was kind of expected to be let go. He did go 13-1 a couple seasons ago, where they controversially missed the college football playoffs. But after that, they've struggled. They went 2-10 after that, 5-7 in the next 2 seasons after that. You do have wide receiver Deuce Robinson for 1 season. He's coming in at a 92 overall. And you do have one season with running back Quintravion Wisner at an 89 overall with a 90 speed and 87 tackle. You have a quarterback, Auburn transfer Ashton Daniels, a veteran quarterback. He's been a couple places, entering his last season of eligibility, so you will have to recruit your own quarterback. You know, Florida State is a fun one. It always is. It has a historical background in football. Not too long ago, they had Jameis Winston and were competing for championships. So it's not impossible to bring this Florida State team back. Obviously, a lot of fans want to see it back to where it was. You've got some legends that came out of there. Obviously, one of them is now coaching with the Colorado Buffaloes. But the Florida State also has your obvious Florida pipelines. You will have to compete with the Gators for recruits. But like I said previously with Texas, Florida can't recruit everybody. So you do have the opportunity to find some gems, find some players that want to be a Seminole and kind of want to help you get back to this next spot. I would say that the transfer portal probably going to be your friend in many cases as they hit here with the quarterback Tommy, as you see him throwing the pass down the field to get a touchdown. And it was an electric opening to the season. They just didn't find the rhythm to kind of keep it all together, maybe some injuries and stuff like that. But the goal always is, can you turn Florida State back into the powerhouse that it once was? And that's the main point of getting into these dynasties, is to see if you can do that. We'll see how their dynasty point situation looks opening season of the game. Maybe it'll increase as the year goes on. It'll be interesting to see how EA handles that situation. Will the dynasty points get better? Was that an update or not? I don't know. We'll see. But as you see, the Florida State Seminoles handled Alabama kind of going into this game. It got a little close, but you know, you've got some opportunity to kind of make it better than what it has been and maybe revive what once was. That takes us to the SEC, where we'll be talking about our Ole Miss Rebels. As you can see here in the background, you've got the LSU Tigers facing the Ole Miss Rebels from a season ago. LSU was still at the top of the mountain, and Ole Miss was coming right after them. You have Trinidad Chambliss, Deuce Alexander on the field here, and they won the game. I mean, it was a close one, but the Tigers ended up losing. But as we all know, the Tigers did not end up losing in the long run, as they did end up taking Ole Miss's head coach, and many of the Ole Miss fans are not happy about it. Ole Miss does get to recoup with Coach Pete Golding, who was there as the defensive coordinator under Lane Kiffin's staff, and it was able to retain a lot of the players from the previous Ole Miss team that ended up losing to the eventual national championship runner-up Miami. This is a fun one to me because you obviously get to replay this Ole Miss LSU, and this is going to be back at Ole Miss. And, you know, you do get the chance to kind of rebuild this team in the way you want. Trinidad Chambliss is on his last season of eligibility, as he did end up getting a waiver to compete in this season, which will take him all the way through to the end of the year. He's a really good quarterback, comes in at 93 overall. I believe that last season he wasn't in the game until almost the very last update or so. So it'll be fun to have him from the jump this season. And you do have Kewan Lacey, who returns at the running back position, leads the team at a 96 overall. The defense is a lot of high 80s and low 90s players. This would be a fun, prove-it type of year for these guys, obviously, as you get the first season under Coach Pete Golding. And it won't take long. This is not necessarily a rebuild. This is more of a see what you can do type year in the tough SEC conference, and with a new head coach and things of that nature. But you definitely have to make sure that you play this game versus LSU coming into this season. There's a lot of animosity. Obviously, Coach Kiffin was one of the first coaches that we got to see kind of talked about as being in the game with his new LSU stuff on. So it'll be fun to be an Ole Miss fan and kind of play that rivalry early in the season before it gets out there in real time. Last but certainly not least, we've got our South Carolina Gamecocks. I believe the Gamecocks are the most fun team that you have a chance to kind of take control of here. Obviously, last season, they didn't do too hot. They've got Lenora Sellers, though, and I think he's one of the most exciting quarterbacks in college football. I mean, as you'll see kind of this highlight reel of him, he just does things that, you know, I hate to compare him to a Cam Newton because they're not the same type of player, but they've got the same build. They've got all the things that I personally like in a quarterback, which makes the South Carolina Gamecocks one of the more fun ones to do. Obviously, you're competing in a tough SEC conference, as they got to see in real time last season. But your offense is pretty stacked. You still got Nick Harbor for a season. And you've got a fun defensive edge. And Dylan Stewart, who bursts off the edge. He's got a 91 speed. That might be one of the highest ratings for an edge. I don't know for sure, but it's got to be up there. And you do have Lenore Sellers, but this is likely your last season with him. He is draft eligible. He did take his name out of the draft a season ago. We'll see if you can do enough to convince him to stay. That's always the fun part, right? Are you good enough to go, and can I convince you to stay one more time? Obviously, the Gamecocks is a tough one. It's kind of in that situation that with Vanderbilt, where they've had some pretty up and down years. Obviously, Coach Clark Lee has made Vandy a little bit more relevant. And then they were going through the same thing with the quarterback change, which is something that you may have to go through as you take over the South Carolina Gamecocks. Obviously, you'll have to take on some of these tough road games. Can you make noise at the right time? This is the season to do it. You've got the offense that you need. You've got the running backs. You've got the defensive edge. You've got the cornerbacks. You've got the quarterback. That's the most important position in all of football, right? And you've got Nick Harbor, who is definitely a top receiver in the SEC, and it will likely be your go-to guy as you utilize Lenore Sellers and his arm and his legs and his ability to make things happen for your team. It's going to be a heavy offensive team. I would say, you're going to lean a little bit on those guys to make sure that you get the W. But the biggest part is can you compete at the top of the SEC? You've got all your heavyweights are in the SEC. I mean, the Big Ten is nice, but it's got nothing on the SEC and their opponents. I know the Big Ten has Indiana, who just won the national championship, and no SEC team actually made the national championship this season. But as we saw at the beginning of the video versus TCU, the SEC does run the game. So we'll kind of see how you can do here with these Gamecocks and utilize the final season for some of these offensive players that you have. The challenge becomes right after that, right? When you're rebuilding kind of your own vision of what you want the Gamecocks to be. Coach Beamer has a legend father of a football coach, and his squad in South Carolina competing in the SEC. It's not an easy go. I mean, they had this game right here, won against Texas A&M. And it didn't work out. The Texas A&M ended up having the largest comeback in school history in this game. They were up 30-3 with a 3-6 record and 1-6 in the SEC. That's just not going to cut it. Coach Beamer gets a chance to redo it with this season and some of these great offensive players that he has. And obviously, like I said, Dylan Stewart is another guy who's draft eligible and likely going to take his talents to the league following this season. But, that's it for this video. Just make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, hype it up. Let's get excited to play college football. I have a lot of videos coming out soon. Appreciate y'all for tuning in.